Hey everybody, welcome back to episode 17 of Media Chop Up. My name is Serge, aka Sergerilla. Unfortunately, we ran into some hiccups with the last 2 weeks, with Super Bowl being last week and then tomorrow being Valentine's Day. So we decided to sneak an episode in today and talk about the last two episodes of WandaVision. Unfortunately, Rick is not going to be able to make it today because of his schedule, his work schedule and whatnot. We want him to get enough sleep for work. So we are blessed with two very, very cool people, very knowledgeable people. Welcome back, my brother Gillette, G Fresh. What's up, brother?
Going
And also my cuz, Smitty, aka Danvers.
Yo, what up? What up?
What's up, y'all? I appreciate you guys coming along for the ride.
Absolutely.
So yeah, man. So let's get this party started. I'm gonna start off with our intro.
Spicy.
Yo, episode 17 starts now. That was the wrong intro, but hopefully I don't get in trouble for that one.
I was jamming.
I know I love the drums on that, but unfortunately, like certain things got flagged, so hopefully we don't have to hear anyone's mouth. But yeah, hey, welcome back to another episode of Media Chop Up. We're gonna talk about WandaVision, and it's a pretty cool show. If you haven't seen it already, a lot of people have been talking about it, good and bad. You know, it starts off in a very confusing manner, kind of X-Files-ish. People don't understand the direction of where it's going, and there's certain people that are very impatient. But all throughout, it's very, very, very well thought out, and they're dropping Easter eggs throughout. So as you progress, you start seeing, and everything starts making sense. So just be a little patient if you're jumping into it. It's a really good show. It's introducing you to a much bigger world. So before we even start talking about this, Dan is my go-to guy. He's my comic book aficionado. He knows so much more than I know. But I try to do my best to do my research, and I've learned so much in that time. But at some point, it's too much because there's so many people. What about this? What about this? What about this? But it's pretty cool though. It's cool that you can be part of something that's so well thought out. So before we even start talking about the episode, I wanted to pay tribute and talk about one of the main creators. Unfortunately, he's not here with us anymore, Stan Lee. He's a pioneer in the game, man, and he's done so much, man. And what I love is that he allowed his imagination to he found a career that revolves around his imagination, and he created so much entertaining things for us to watch and enjoy. And even past his expiration date, we're gonna continue to enjoy it, man. And thank you, Stan Lee, man. Tribute goes out to you. He basically created and co-launched superheroes like Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, and the X-Men for Marvel Comics, which is huge. A little fun fact, I'm not sure if you guys know this. I know a lot of the hardcore heads would know this. An issue with the printers turned the Hulk green. Originally, he was actually supposed to be gray. So as of issue number 2, Lee wrote with no explanation. He turned green with no explanation, but we kind of like accepted it. And now the Hulk isn't the Hulk without him being green. And it's crazy how a simple printer issue changed the way we view that. And it kind of just worked hand in hand with that, which is pretty cool. Did you guys know that?
I did not.
Yeah.
No, that's a dope tidbit, though.
I saw a long time ago. I used to be, when I was young, into comics, and I would try to buy them, and I realized, man, I can't afford all these comics. I couldn't ask my parents for money every week for a new comic. But I remember there was a point where I was like a gray Hulk, and I didn't know the story of it. So when I was doing some research, I was like, oh, that's so interesting. Pretty cool, man. So thank you, Stan Lee, for all your contributions. You have pioneered and led the way many wish they could, So thank you. So the reason why I mentioned him is because obviously he's the creator, and with WandaVision, you're going to get a taste of another world that we would have otherwise been kept separate. So Dan, we started having a conversation yesterday about the bankruptcy, and you want to summarize for us real quick?
Yeah, well, Marvel Comics actually started in Times Square, believe it or not. A building that's still intact. It's actually like a green terracotta building located right next to the Port Authority.
Okay.
42nd Street between 8th and 9th Avenue.
Yeah.
So the really cool thing was, back in the day when people would sign a correspondence, like a letter in the mail, and if they were to write, say, Captain America or the Fantastic Four, it would be directed here to New York, which was really cool. Stan, obviously, he's an innovator, and started off with the X-Men and the Fantastic Four, which unfortunately over time he had to sell off because they ran into some financial trouble as copyright and things sort of got outdated, and television and different forms of media came about. So in that time, he sold off those properties to 20th Century Fox, and then you also had Spider-Man, which was sold to Sony. And luckily, as time passed, Disney bought Marvel, and the MCU came about, and here we are over a decade later with all these different titles that have contributed vastly to the movie verse. And they're just very methodical, and the execution for these movies is thought out amazingly.
Mm-hmm.
When you compare, say, the DC movies, which, I would argue that a lot of the DC heroes, to a certain extent, like Batman, Flash, Green Arrow, they carry a little more weight in like the hardcore universe over a lot of the Marvel characters, but just the way they were able to capture the attention and the audience with the MCU is absolutely amazing. And thank you, Stan, for bringing that to us,
Sure.
and another thing we spoke about was how he was a very avid political individual, where, you had the Black Panther Party back in the 60s and the 70s come about. And in response to that, Stan came out with an entire chapter of that with Wakanda and King T'Challa.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, man.
And the Black Panther.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, I think that's crazy, and I think that's a true mark of someone who's definitely ahead of their time. Side note: Sylvester Stallone actually did some stuff like that, where he like for Rocky 4, he was trying to think of the direction he should go. Like people already saw 3 of them. What's going to bring him back for the 4th? So he needed a storyline. He needed somebody to sell a bigger bad guy, and he just looked in the news and basically found that we were in a Cold War with Russia. So he was like, why not put Rocky against a formidable Russian warrior, and they found Dolph Lundgren, and it's pretty cool how it really went well with it. Like basically it was present. People felt connected with it. They went to the movies and started watching it because they felt there was a connection. It became a thing where it was America versus Russia, and people went to it. So I think it's amazing that Stan Lee basically tapped into that. I was reading something earlier about how there was a point. I don't know if it was in the 80s or whatever. There was a point where there was like, don't do drugs. Everybody, George Bush, Barbara Bush, they were all like, don't, just say no, and they wrote Stan Lee a letter, and they said, listen, they weren't asking him. They were like, listen, we want you to write in a story where somebody just says no. So instead of just now, Stan Lee was a rebel. He wanted, he had a vision, he had an idea. He didn't like the direction that went. So he did write a story about someone's conflict and battle with addiction, and it was a friend of his who got addicted to pills, and they didn't want to do it. They were like, no, we said someone just saying no, not someone that was addicted to pills. And he said, screw you, I'm gonna put it through anyway. And he had his guy, the publisher, or in the printers, and they were like, listen, I'm with you, we're gonna put it through. And he was a rebel to say, listen, you're not gonna dictate to me what I should do. Right. So I think that's pretty cool, man. Like the guy was ahead of his time, and he had his morals and his standards. And I'm not saying that he was a person that was for drugs, but he didn't want to be dictated the direction of where he should write a story. He was so involved in so much stuff, I couldn't really get into it. But yeah, so I mentioned that because obviously WandaVision is going to introduce you to other worlds. Just like you said, X-Men was sold off. Fantastic Four was sold off. So up until this point, it's been completely separate. There's no comparison between Marvel and X-Men, right? It's just like, in terms of like the way it's been handled. I don't know if you saw the latest X-Men movie. I didn't, where it had the younger versions. I didn't see it. I don't know. It didn't look that interesting to me. Honestly, it looked kind of teenager-ish to me. But
yeah, you talking about Dark Phoenix?
Yeah. Did you saw it? You liked it?
I did. Yeah. I mean, it was what it was. I wouldn't say it's a classic or anything, but it was kind of cool to tap into that chapter and see Jean Grey really take on the Phoenix and show her true power. But outside of that, it wasn't really like anything to brag about.
Got you. Hey G, what was the first comic book movie you remember ever seeing? Gillette.
Comic book movie?
Yeah. Do you recall?
It would be Superman, most likely.
Okay, Superman.
I think Christopher Reeve Superman.
I had that on cassette tape back in the days. What about you, Smitty?
I would say the original Batman.
Okay, I remember that. That was with what's his name as the Joker? Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson is the Joker. Michael Keaton is Bruce Wayne.
I remember standing online in Kings Plaza in Brooklyn Mall, and the line being all the way down past the escalator just to watch Batman, the first one, and I stood in that line. Everybody was like buying like Batman pins, and it was like so cool to rock those pins, But the first comic movie that I remember seeing, I actually saw it with my cousin Damien in Queens. It's called Spawn.
Okay.
And I can't say that it was like super well done. Not a lot of people talk about it, but the comic book heads definitely know about it. Mm-hmm. I think he did a good job, but it was very dark and everything, but it wasn't like it did so well, But right. But that moment where I think it really exploded was with Batman. I don't know, because Superman came out before Batman, right? So
it did, but I think Batman. You had this show, which it was actually like a little cheesy, holy rusted metal Batman with the Batman and Robin show. Yeah. But the first that was Adam West. Adam West was that Batman, but like the real like big blockbuster was Batman. In I believe it was 1989 when that dropped with Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson.
Your favorite Batman of all time?
I wouldn't say that Michael Keaton is my favorite Batman. I think the discussion that they're having though with potentially making him, the Batman beyond Bruce Wayne and passing the mantle along, but Christian Bale was my favorite Batman.
What about you, G? Who's your favorite Batman? Christian Bale.
I like Christian Bale's his partake in Batman.
I would say the same thing, right? But when I started seeing that thing happen when they were talking about Michael Keaton, I started like reviewing, like, yo, was he a bad Batman? No, he wasn't a bad Batman. They made fun of what's his name when he was Batman, but that was a really bad version. It had
Val
Arnold
Kilmer.
Schwarzenegger. Yeah, Val Kilmer. Like, and then they also made fun of what's his name?
George
from
Clooney.
ER. George Clooney. They made like I saw an interview with him. He goes, "Man, I will never hear the end of it to this day." People were like, "No more bat nipples," like because they gave him nipples.
Because they gave him nipples.
He was like, "Listen, I had nothing to do with that. I had to wear the helmet."
I think that whole chapter of Batman though was very interesting too, because they had Tim Burton was like the creative director and the director for the whole thing, and he was, very like fluorescent lights kind of guy. Also had this very gothic sort of outlook and perspective on things. So while he didn't have a decision in George Clooney's nipples as Batman because he wasn't part of it, I still think it went that direction because of Tim.
I think somebody thought that George Clooney was sexy and they wanted to show off his nipples, but you never know. You never know. So all right. So WandaVision. So you guys have obviously noticed a different theme. So if you haven't started watching this yet, each show has a theme, and I broke it down. So it starts off with a 50s theme, and I'll talk about their influences. So the first one will be the 50s theme, and that would be right here. It takes influence from I Love Lucy and I Marry Joan. I've never seen I Marry Joan. I Love Lucy is the most classic of all time. So
yeah.
But yeah,
I'm pretty sure for that era too, they actually had Dick Van Dyke as like a consultant to show how to sort of smooth it all together.
Yeah. So you can see it like in the first episode, they have separate beds, just like in I Love Lucy. I think they had a lot of fun filming these things and coming up with creating these moments and these scenes because they were paying tribute and also telling their story. So that was the first one. The next one will be the 60s theme. 60s theme will be basically Leave It to Beaver, and the outfits and the hair and even the backgrounds. They try to pay homage by completely duplicating a lot of it. So it's pretty cool as you're watching these episodes, and especially with some of them where they show the intro and they recreate the intro with Wanda and Vision. You start thinking in your head, oh, where's this intro from? Where's it? This looks familiar, because they're basically mirroring it, paying tribute to it, right? Mm-hmm. For the 70s, we have the Brady Bunch and That 70s Show. And you can see in that episode, they had those iconic stairs that they had in the Brady Bunch that went up, that kind of like were floating up with carpet on them, right? So a lot of the background was taken from there. That's the 70s. 80s would be basically paying tribute to Married with Children, Family Ties, and Full House. I think it's poetic that they're paying tribute to Full House, especially since one of the older Olsen sisters are is on our show. Then for the 90s, we got a little Roseanne. Which I hated Roseanne. I fucking hated that show.
I think most of the country hates Roseanne now.
I think I hated her before this, but like, I think I would watch it because I think when they aired Roseanne, there really wasn't much on at that time. Like, there's two shows that I really didn't like: Roseanne and MASH. Those shows, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And I watched a lot of shows during the time. I watched Night Court. That was funny. A lot of different shows from those time periods, and I was okay with it. But those two shows, as much as I tried, I couldn't get into. But I digress.
I feel you. I mean, there were a lot of better shows to watch. So
yeah. TV was so simple back then. Right. 2000s theme, that would be this latest episode, and they would pay tribute to Sabrina the Teenage Witch and Modern Family. So pretty cool. Pretty cool. Did you know that they WandaVision, this is actually the second time they try to put this on TV? There was an original. Have you ever heard of it? Have you ever seen it?
No, I didn't. Wasn't aware.
They had a completely different Wanda. You want to see who it is?
Let's check it out. Is that Shanae?
No, it's Jamie Foxx. It's Wanda.
Shanae is Martin, and Wanda is.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so
that's right.
It didn't make it past the cutting floor. Unfortunately, they didn't like Jamie Foxx's Wanda. Yeah. But listen,
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Touche.
So
How
yeah,
you
man.
doing?
So with these, so I'm gonna give a quick synopsis before we get into episode 5 and 6. So quick synopsis. So you're going through all these different periods, and you're kind of confused. They're in the 50s, they're in the 60s, in the 70s, and so on and so on. But they're dropping little Easter eggs. But basically, it's just mirroring one of these old episodes. It'll be a simple episode about an anniversary, about having a dinner with someone, how they're trying to appear to be normal, because obviously Vision is a robot and he's pretending to be a human, and how they're trying to fit in, and you're trying to understand why Wanda and Vision are living in this type of world. And each episode is different. Eventually, in the beginning, it was black and white. Then eventually color came, and there's certain hints that come out, and while everything's black and white, you see a point of it being in color. It's all symbolic. So you just have to be patient and be very observant. So ultimately, there was a hex, a hexagon shape, and at the end of each episode, you would see there was zoom out from the TV of this old retro show, and you would see somebody viewing it on a screen. And on that screen, it will be in the shape of a hexagon. And then you see other things like the sword logo, and that's symbolic of the sword group, right? You want to tell us a little bit about Sword, Smitty?
So Sword is basically the adjacent entity like Shield, but Shield dealt with domestic stuff on Earth, international stuff, and Sword was put in for intergalactic things. We saw in Avengers 1 with the arrival of Loki that they understood that there was more to the worlds than just Earth. Also, we saw that in Captain Marvel as well, when Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, was a being that was from, she introduced the Skrulls to the MCU, so therefore Sword was put together by Monica Rambeau.
Yep.
Right.
The original Monica Rambeau.
The mother. Yeah. Oh, excuse me, Maria. Monica's the daughter. Yeah, Maria Rambeau. Right. Yep. So she headed the division, and she was best friends with Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel, and they formed Sword specifically to deal with these kinds of anomalies and enigmas.
Yes. Thank you. So they start dropping all these jewels, Shield, Sword. You start hearing all these things, and to the rookie eye, you don't understand what these people are about, and they actually encompass a lot. So when they start introducing you, you start seeing where they're walking through, the stuff that the building, the rooms that they're in. You can see what they're involved with. Like one of the groups for not Sword, what's the other one for is it Shield? Oh,
Shield.
Shield is they basically they go into outer space. They go into outer space, and they handle anything extraterrestrial or whatever they find out there. They're basically an advanced version of NASA, right? Where they have superheroes, and they're very involved. These are secret government things that they're not sharing with everyone, but this is what they're trying to show you on the show. Right. So you're trying to understand why Wanda and Vision, especially after you've seen Vision die in Endgame, you're like, how is this, right? So obviously Wanda's very powerful, and Wanda can control things almost like unwittingly, unknowingly. She can her emotions can get in the way and basically change things. She's that powerful. She can basically make people disappear, change what you're thinking, all types of things. She can create this whole environment, and that's what we're thinking, is that she's created this shape. Right now, I bring up this shape for a reason. In one of the episodes, in the earlier episodes, they come across these two cops, and they're like, "Okay, why don't you tell us again what you just told my partner?" And basically, they're trying to go into the town's name is
Westview.
Westview.
Yeah. So they're standing next to a sign that says Westview, and they're like, yeah, there's no such place as Westview. And she's like, Monica, the daughter of Maria, was basically who's also an agent of Sword. Basically says, really? She looks at the sign like, there's no Westview. He's standing right next to the sign. They're like, nope, there's no such thing. And okay, so where are you from? Oh, we're from Eastview. They're like, oh yeah, okay, right. Goodbye. So then they want to send a helicopter to basically a mini helicopter to basically survey the area, right? And when they shoot it down the street, it disappears, right? So now you remember on one of the early episodes, Vision and Wanda are disturbed by a sound outside, and when they go outside, they find in the bushes a retro-looking helicopter that's in color, but it has a Sword logo on it, right? So apparently, you realize that when you cross over into this like kind of like orb or hex, they call it the hex, right? The shape. There's basically another world that's protected there, and she, whoever's in charge of this is basically controlling people's minds to act as if it doesn't exist. So you're trying to understand, how is Vision able to be alive when he was killed in Endgame by Thanos, right? So, they I'm not going to get into all the details of what happened on the show, but basically that's the premise. So basically Sword sets up on the perimeter of this. They start sending different things inside. When they send one of the agents to go through a sewer, as soon as he passes where that hex starts, instead of him being in like a quarantine suit, it turned into a bee outfit.
Mm-hmm.
So like, when you're watching, you're like, what the fuck is this? I don't understand. But he had the Sword logo on the back. Okay, so all this is symbolic. And then when Wanda saw it, she basically said no, and then it rewinded as if it never had happened. So you're trying to understand, is this whole world that we're watching, that they're on TV, is this basically controlled by the emotions and the psyche or the subconscious of Wanda, of being so broken and devastated by the death of her love, which is Vision? We're trying to figure this out. Okay. So I think I basically covered it, right?
Yeah.
Without so now getting into episode 5, you want to talk on that, on what happened in episode 5? Any of you guys?
What you take it?
You want to go, Thomas? Go ahead.
No, I was saying you go ahead, man. You're a wealth of knowledge, so I want to hear what you
So basically episode 5, we kind of see Wanda go into full mother form, sort of living out this entire experiment of her television show. She finally gets to be a mom to Tommy and Billy, who we later learn to be another homage to comic book characters in Speed and Wiccan. But she takes on this role, and you could see, though, that through her interactions with Vision, and then also the neighbor that is expected to be Agatha, who is a witch that is sort of like an overseer of Wanda.
I got you. Hold on. Let me pull her up.
Yeah, there she goes. So you start to see them sort of snap into what's going on and reveal to Wanda, like, hey, is this what you want? And you understand that it's a simulation that they are aware of. Vision knows that something is funky and wants to figure it out. And then this is where we sort of divulge into the fact that, is it completely Wanda that is operating this fantasy world that she's living in? Is she, because you see moments where she doesn't even know how to respond if how she got there and how she didn't. So I think it's an interesting interaction where you kind of think, is this truly her, or is somebody else pulling strings for a larger picture? And I think that's what we get out of episode 5.
Definitely. And you start seeing towards the last two episodes, specifically, and maybe even the third one, that Vision is starting to question everything. He's starting to notice certain little things, and there's things that don't make sense that that even Wanda can't explain. She gets pregnant. Within 2 minutes, he's about to give birth. Like everything is like speeding up, and instead of them, they went from a world of them trying to hide to all of a sudden somebody helping them out with the pregnancy, and they stop caring as much about hiding certain things. Like, for example, when the labor pains start coming, all of a sudden freaking everything starts fizzling out and shaking and everything. And instead of being concerned about, oh my God, how are we being viewed, I think Agatha was over there helping. And from what I hear, she's a witch, and she doesn't even really even mention it. Like, and then also like there was a scene where the babies, she had twins, and they were crying. They wouldn't stop crying. You can tell like Wanda is drained for whatever reason, whether it be lack of sleep, whether it be controlling this world is so wearing of her. But you can tell like she's just not all there. And Vision says to her, like, yo, usually me and you are on the same page. Did you notice that? She's like, nothing, And then all of a sudden the kids stop crying, and then now they're 5 years old, both of them. And Agatha's there, and instead of them being worried about someone knowing their secret, they're like, whatever. So you're trying to understand this, and that character of Agatha is very, very, very it's very concerning to me, because number one, I don't know her story. Did I write anything? I wrote something down on Agatha. She's just a powerful witch, man, and from where she was from, it doesn't really matter. But I'm curious to see where they go with that character right there, because she doesn't look like much to me. I thought she was just going to be in 1 or 2 episodes, and then that was it. But obviously, she has a bigger role. This picture right here is actually, so you see one of the black and white pictures, that's from one of the early episodes, and then the side shot where she's laughing is actually a shot from the latest episode. Now there's a lot going on, and as I said before, Vision started questioning everything, and there was a point on Halloween where he decided to just go on a journey of trying to figure stuff out. He noticed, why are there no kids? Only my kids around, Things weren't feeling right. He had an altercation at work where somebody was acting like real, like completely oblivious to what was happening, and then basically he used his powers to take away the control of the mind of whoever was controlling him, and he was like, "Please help me! Please help me!" I'm looking for my family, and then he put it back on him, and he was like, there's something wrong with this. I think he's automatically looking at Wanda like, what is she not telling me?
Right.
And as he continues, he comes across Agatha, which is very, very, very curious to me. It's curious to me because he started running into people on Halloween where there was all these kids and they were frozen. And he's like, hello, 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 nothing. But all of a sudden, he finds Agatha, who should be frozen, and she's driving. And he's like, where are you going? Right? And, she gives him some story, whatever the case may be. And again, he uses powers to get more out of her. And then she automatically remembered that he was she was like, you're an Avenger. You're an Avenger. You're dead. You're supposed to be dead.
Right.
And he's just like, what are you talking about? And then he puts the whatever control back on her. And he's just really trying to put these pieces together. And there was a point where Wanda says, don't go past this street. And he decided to go past that street. And that street was literally where the hex, the orb, ended for that world.
Right. Ellis Ave.
Yes. Ellis Ave, exactly. And as he went there, he crossed over into basically reality, and Sword has their base set up there, and they all have all their guns and everything ready for him. And he's just looking at everything. And as he's outside of the orb, the hex, he starts breaking apart, and all pieces of him start running back into the orb. And he's dying. And he's like, as he's dying, he's like, save the people, Save the people.
Right.
You know, he's basically realizes that these people are under the control of somebody. So, with all that being said, right? So far, in everything that they showed us, people have talked about it. Who is the villain of this series? Do you know?
I mean, I have a couple theories. I think Taylor Hayward, the guy that's sort of the director of S.W.O.R.D. at the moment, the acting director of S.W.O.R.D., he's a sketchy dude. You could see that he has an extremely vested interest in Vision. We learned that he has a tracker on Vision. They never really truly explained how Vision broke out. He sort of deflected that to Wanda, saying that she stole him. But how did, if you recall, after Vision passed away, Wakanda took Vision, right? So how did Scarlet Witch, or Maximoff, whatever you want to call her, how did she go and get Vision when she can't even remember how it was that she got into Westview, right? So, and the reality is, Wanda's an incredibly powerful being. She's what they call this being. She exists all throughout the multiverse, that just the one being. And if you remember, she killed Ultron, and she was on the cusp of killing Thanos. So this could very well be S.W.O.R.D's way of trying to lead to the villain that ties in with her, which is Mephisto. So
yes,
I think it'll be interesting to see which direction this show goes. But I think that dude Hayward is incredibly sketchy.
Yeah,
absolutely.
For the casual watcher such as myself, I'm not. I don't have a lot of knowledge of comic book history, so I'm learning everything as it goes. And so my understanding is like she created this world and she created Vision because she couldn't deal with losing him, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the way I feel the show's taking me. And then as Vision starts to ask her questions she doesn't want to answer, she creates a new diversion, which is her brother, right?
Right.
Yeah. What's his name? That's Quicksilver.
Yeah. So
Pietro. Yeah.
Just him creates all these other questions that could kind of distract you from whatever you were already working on. So my thing is this: in the last episode,
he was just behind you. Pietro's just behind you,
right?
He's on your screen right now.
The brother is aware that he died. The brother just got there, but he's aware that all of a sudden there's children in the town. Like he's making all these sarcastic remarks to her. So although he was created by her, he's aware of the nonsense.
Yeah, he's not acting like everyone else.
Right. So what it left me was, if he knows, how can Vision know that something's wrong but not know that he died? He knows that something's wrong but not know that he was made up. I wanted him to fly up higher. In the last scene, he flew up to kind of get a view of the town.
Vision.
And I was like, I wonder if he was to keep going up, would he like reach a barrier or something? But
I'm pretty sure.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, real quick, Rick, who should be sleeping, wrote, the real question is, can Vision survive outside the Hex? And we don't know that answer. We don't know the answer. It doesn't seem like he can, but I can tell you, we just gotta wait and see. But I can tell you that they're doing a really good job of planting these little seeds, and you're basically trying to figure out who the bad guy is, right? So before I touch on that, right, because you mentioned Quicksilver, right, Pietro, right? You talk about Pietro. You talked about the director, right? His name is Director. I wrote it down. His name is Director Tyler Hayward, right?
Right.
So all these people, their characters are very different. They're very, very different from what we're seeing. Everyone's very robotic and smiling, and everything is perfect, right? Just like it was on those shows, right? So that those people are being controlled, right? So the question is, I wrote this down. Who is Mephisto, right? So I have some images here to show you before I even read any of the stuff, right? Just so you can see. So Mephisto is a class 2 demon or hell lord. He rules a fiery nether realm. He delights himself with impersonating Satan. He's empowered by the souls of the damned, and he often strikes deceptive bargains with the living. So think about that. He likes striking deals with people, right? So as you're watching the show, you start thinking to yourself, Pietro is asking some questions that he shouldn't know the answer to. He goes, I don't remember past the moment of me dying, or earlier than that. I don't remember anything before that. He remembers whatever's in that bubble. Now he's asking a lot of very stimulating questions. There was a point where his accent disappeared, and then he's basically going back and forth with Wanda about it. And he's like, what happened to your accent? She's like, whoa, what happened to your accent? Right, but nobody's answering any questions. They're just making these accusations. So you start realizing who's the bad guy in this, right? With that. With that being said, like I started thinking about she could possibly be Mephisto, because of, remember how I said she was driving out of town when everybody was frozen. Why was she able to move? Why was she not commenting when the kids grew right in front of their eyes? Because somebody is orchestrating this stuff. And it seems like, I think they want you to think that Wanda is really in control of things, but it might be a deal that Mephisto made with Wanda to help her ailing heart of losing vision. That's a possibility, right? There's a lot of scenes where we get flashes of a dead freaking Vision. We see a dead freaking Quicksilver, Pietro. He died in Age of Ultron. Like throughout the thing, right? You see these characters who are dead, but they're in this world, but you don't understand it. Somebody is controlling this. We just don't know who. This is what Quicksilver looked like in the comic book. This is the character who they got to play him. Obviously, they had another character that played him. These are the two of them side by side. This is the one that we're getting on the left right here, right? This is them in Age. Which one is this? This is
Age of Ultron.
Age of Ultron.
Age of Ultron. You see them working side by side, brother and sister, right? But there's a lot happening, and I think they're doing a good job in kind of just giving you a little bit of bad guy in all these different people. You don't know who's the bad guy. So I think that Mephisto, which I've never heard of before the show, basically, just from me doing studying and doing research and hearing things, I think he's impersonating one of these people.
So where did you get that name from? In studying, or was that like something I missed in one of the episodes?
Mephisto?
Yes.
No, it's a theory. It's a theory.
Oh, okay.
It's a theory, and a lot of people are just all like pointing towards that. I think the brother said something about hell, something like that.
And he's basically the MCU's devil. That's who Mephisto is, or just Marvel's devil, not just the MCU, the Marvel version of the devil.
So there was no reason for Pietro to say a comment like that, talking about the devil. So like they're leading us to somebody pulling these strings in this world, because obviously within the last 2 episodes, Wanda has lost full control. Right. So to get back,
she's getting weaker because she's not controlling everyone. She's just controlling the people that's closest to her.
The theory is if she is controlling it, eventually it's going to get too much because it's too many people and too big of area to her to consistently control everything. It's impossible. It's going to wear her down. That's one theory. Another theory is that it's Mephisto, and basically she thinks that she's controlling things, but it's really him, and he's doing things.
I think really quick, if I can, I think it's interesting you bring that up, because when we spoke about Ellis Ave before, that's sort of the dead zone of Westview. And if you remember, while talking to Pietro, he mentioned it was pretty surprising how she was able to bring the kids out and where did they come from, right? Because Vision mentioned earlier in the show, where are all the kids? So were they over at Ellis Ave, and has she been cycling through different people, or is it Mephisto or somebody else that's pulling the strings to kind of have these different people fashioned through Westview?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we don't know. We got a couple comments from Rick. He said MCU Quicksilver versus Fox Quicksilver. And then he wrote, I don't know if she's getting weaker because she expanded Westview exponentially, which is crazy.
Yeah.
She did it effortlessly. So I'll talk on that. So as somebody wrote something. Oh, someone's responding to Rick. So as I said before, Vision goes out of the hex and he's dying. He's breaking apart, right? And as he's dying, instead of trying to go back in and save himself, he's like, save the people. You know, basically saying these people are under the control of something. They need to be saved. You guys got to go in there and do something, right? So one of the sons has some powers, and he heard his father and knows that he's in danger. And while they're out trick-or-treating and running about, he goes to his mother, Wanda, and says, Dad's in trouble. Save him.
Right,
So
let me interject. These are the questions that come to me. Of everyone in Westville, we know that these people are real people that she just took over and created characters for. What we don't know is the brother real? Obviously, Vision died. So what is he? And now my question is, what are the kids?
So there's a bunch of theories on that. Theories are Mephisto granted her, because she wanted to have kids, granted her to have her kids, and those are her kids, you know, and they become superheroes, right?
So
yeah. What are you gonna say?
Yeah, so if I can, so what happens is that Mephisto eventually, the idea is that the reason why he could be pulling the strings is specifically so that Wanda could have these kids. That way, he could absorb them. This is something that happens in the comics, where like he absorbs them in order to become a more powerful being. So if they decide to go the direction that the comics have gone, that could be one of the reasons that creating this bubble for Wanda specifically so that she could birth these kids in order to further himself.
So, all right, please excuse my ignorance. Is WandaVision, the show, something previously written in comic books? Or is that a brand new creation?
It's something that was
Yeah, go ahead, Serge. I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say, I mean, I could be wrong. It's something that was created, man. It's a creative medium of basically after Avengers, because this obviously takes place in Avengers. After Endgame. It's a creative way of
the concept. The concept of WandaVision is an MCU property, but the relationship between Wanda and Vision does exist in the comic book verse.
Okay.
So they just decided to piece it together. This is their creative direction that they're going with it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Hold on one second. So, I mean, there's a lot going on, man.
There is. So, all right. Yeah. So while you're doing that, my question is, the Hayward guy, how does he have trackers on all the people when they couldn't get anything in there to get them in the first place? They couldn't get anything in there to successfully track it. How does he have a tracker on Vision? These are within the last episode the questions that came to mind.
I think one thing that we haven't even touched on, which is a very big part of it, is what do you make of these commercials? They have commercials mid-show, and it's not a real commercial. Do you understand?
The yogurt commercial tripped me out. I was lost with that.
All right, I'll try to break them down a little bit, but you want to touch? Do you have any theories on that, Smitty?
About the commercials? I think some of them have to deal with Wanda's subconscious. You see them make different reference to various people in her life, like William von Strucker with
All right.
the
Hold that
Strucker
thought.
watch.
I'm gonna go one by one. Episode 1. Stark Enterprises.
Right.
Forget the
Right.
past. This is your future. Toastmate.
Right.
And it says right there in the bottom, Stark Enterprises. Right? That's a little
Yeah.
seed that they plant there. So I was like, interesting, right? These commercials, they really make no sense half the time, right? Commercial 2 in episode 2. Strucker. What is, and then if you look at it, it says Hydra. It says Hydra on it, and it has a logo, right? Do you know what Hydra is? What is Hydra, Smitty?
Hydra is essentially a scientist division within the Nazi party. Again, going back to what you said earlier and how Stan tied in a lot of what's gone on in the world with his comics, and they were the scientist division of the Nazi party that experimented with otherworldly items in order to boost chances of conquering the world. So they mess with the Infinity Stones, and so on and so forth.
So okay, so these commercials are just embedded in the middle of these episodes, and you're just left like, what the fuck? And then you just kind of just go back into it. So you're already confused and trying to figure out what's the direction of this episode, and then they'll just plant this little commercial, which they're telling you there's a lot more than meets the eye. There's a lot more involved than we realize. This is not a show about Leave It to Beaver, about any of these shows and their simple what they're going through in each episode. What they're doing is they're showing you that there's a lot more involved in this, right? So episode 3, Hydra soap. Find the goddess within. Luxury bath powder. Like, it makes no sense, but that word, it's all wordplay. Hydra. Okay, you're like, all right. Episode 5, Lagos brand. The leading brand. I don't know what Lagos brand is. You know what that is?
Yeah. Lagos was one of the areas in the MCU where Wanda actually was responsible for destroying the building. If you remember, I believe that was in Civil War, where she deflected a missile that was coming towards Cap, and she threw it into the building and it blew up. So a lot of these things point to Wanda's subconscious, I think.
Okay.
You had you had the reference of the Stark toaster. Yep. Tony Stark's missile, or not Tony Stark, but his father, Howard Stark. They're known for creating these weapons. And what happened was one of the missiles actually struck the home of the Maximoffs and killed their parents. Right. So that was that. You had the reference of what was the other one? You had the Strucker, William von Strucker. Yeah.
Strucker.
But William von Strucker was the individual that was part of Hydra that essentially created them and exposed them to the Infinity Stones, which gave them their powers. Mm-hmm. So, and then you have the Lagos reference as well.
And then finally in episode 6, very confusing and disturbing commercial.
A yogurt commercial.
It was a yogurt commercial called Yo Magic. And for this one, I would like to show you basically the meaning of that. I don't know if this is just someone, like someone just trying to figure it out, or if it actually is a true meaning. But I'm gonna share it with you. Okay, so hold on one second while I share my screen. Sure. All right, you see this?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go.
I'm so hungry, I'd eat anything.
Possible reference to the state of Wanda Maximoff after the death of Vision and Pietro. Would she willingly to do anything to bring them back alive? Possible villain Mephisto.
Hungry. I remember hungry. I used to be like that all the time.
What did you do?
Snacked on yo magic, bro. Now I have time to hang with.
Can I have some?
There you go, little dude.
Can I have some?
This shark represents Mephisto, who come forward to Wanda Maximoff and offer and granting her wish to bring back Vision and his brother with the power of magic. Even though Mephisto granted Wanda Maximoff wish of bring back her loving brother, but she is no way in full control of her wishes, and will never truly have them back on her side.
Yo magic. The snack for survivors.
Interesting.
Okay.
So
That's a good breakdown.
yes. So okay. So yeah. So I just heard the sound.
That's a good breakdown.
So yeah. So something's happening.
So
here.
yeah.
Hold on one second.
I just heard the sound. So
That's very confusing. Okay.
I think Mephisto was messing around, bro.
How'd you find me, Mephisto? All right. So I mean, here's some images of Mephisto with Thanos in the comic books back in the day. Different images of Mephisto and the power of Mephisto. Man, he's a very bad demon. Okay.
Right.
So this gives you a whole nother dimension, a viewpoint of what's happening. At one point we're thinking, and it could still very much be that Wanda is controlling everything, or it could be someone else is controlling this because of a wish, granting a wish to get what you really want. We don't know yet. So ultimately, when I ask the question, who is the villain? We don't know officially who that villain is. Everything is pointing towards Mephisto, but we have to wait and see. Unfortunately, we only have 2 more episodes, but the final 2 episodes are going to be an hour long each, because so far the episodes have been like 26 minutes. So there's a lot going on,
That's exciting.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the direction of it, and I'm already feeling like they're gonna leave us on a cliffhanger, and then we gotta wait 4 years before the next one.
Yeah.
But you know what though? Like most other, of the Marvel properties, like it's so well done that it's totally worth the wait.
Oh, absolutely. I agree, man. And listen, if you won me over, and I've constantly been a casual fan. If you catch some of the earlier episodes of our show, I speak on different characters that I find a lot more interesting than others. And when you put these things on the screen, there's a lot that goes into it. I don't remember who said it. Somebody I heard recently, they were basically knocking these writers for basically appeasing all these fans for wanting everything to be exact to the way the comic book is. Ultimately, if you want the full range and creativity of what you want to control, you want to be able to divert. Listen, Walking Dead, they diverted in certain instances and didn't keep true to the comic 100%. And they told you they were going to do that. And it's still a great entity. But with these comic books, man, these fans are relentless, man. They're just like, I don't like the way Hulk's pimples look. Like, they just start going off. Like they harp on the smallest things, and it sucks to be a writer and be judged on the tiniest and most insignificant points. Listen, I don't agree with a lot of times the direction they may go. I don't like how they made us pay for the same fucking movie 34 times in a row in Spider-Man. Just changing the fucking actor. I don't like that, but I like what they did lately. I like what they did lately with Spider-Man. I enjoyed that thoroughly. I mentioned in another episode how I'm not too keen on the whole Thor universe. I think it's fucking boring. I think the Thor universe is boring. It reminds me of that Vin Diesel movie, Pitch Black.
Pitch Black.
Bro,
I love that movie.
You love that freaking horrible movie?
I enjoyed it. It didn't do good. I don't hear anyone say anything good about it. But listen, when I'm scrolling through, it's on TV. I leave it there, man. I enjoy watching.
I think ultimately, listen, and this is something that DC has been knocked on hard, right? Like basically, Avengers came together. These are very likable characters. They're very witty. They're very funny. Nobody has to hold the weight of the screen, of the attention. Everyone's contributing. Hulk every once in a while punches someone in the face and you're fucking laughing hysterically, right? Hulk smash. Like you don't need him to say much because it's all of them and it works, right? DC tried to do that with Suicide Squad and it was horrible, right? So I started asking the question, are Marvel characters more likable than DC characters? Not saying all DC characters, but some of them. Who has more likable characters? Because I feel like Marvel was a lot more easier to watch than maybe Suicide Squad, and that may be just strictly how they handled it. You know, they're doing this. All they're doing is talking about the Zack Snyder cut now of the same fucking movie, and everyone's like, "Ooh, like it's a brand new movie." It looks very cool, and I will definitely see it, and I want to see it. But it's amazing how a director can change the feel of a movie.
I was about to say, I think the DC universe not adding up to like MCU's is due to the writing and the director. The actors are capable. You never look at it and say that's bad acting, but the climactic scenes aren't as great as it doesn't give you that same feeling. Like MCU has so many memorable moments where you can know what happens, but you still get excited.
Right.
I saw a video real quick. I saw a video comparing Avengers to Suicide Squad, and Suicide Squad got destroyed. Everyone hated it, right? It was great, right? But then when they broke it down, part by part, it was the same fucking movie as Avengers. I'll find that video for you where they compare all the points. And as I watched it, my mind was blown. I was like, wow, I didn't realize it. The way certain things picked up, the way these people came together, the way this person said a joke, the way they copied it because they were like, listen, they made a shitload of money with that Avengers movie. We're gonna make our version of DC and we're gonna make a killing too. And they didn't, right? So then I started saying, what was it? Was it director? Was it just that Marvel characters are more likable than the DC characters? I didn't understand it.
Well,
maybe it was a choice of casting.
Marvel characters are definitely more likable than Suicide Squad characters. You know, like a lot of people, like me, like I said, I'm not into the comic books. I didn't know about Suicide Squad until that show comes out.
Right.
Versus, Avengers, everyone have heard of the majority of the Avengers characters.
Definitely.
Yeah. And to your point, it's tough to rally behind villains, right? Like when Suicide Squad, that's what they are. They're a bunch of villains.
Bro, we love.
I mean, for the
but not a whole team of villains. You love one good villain that's doing a good deed.
Right. I also think that just generally speaking, right, if you look at how it's all been laid out, there are 11 years worth of Marvel movies, character development, plot, all this stuff. We, the general public, have consumed a lot of it. We spent a lot of time. We spent a lot of money. And in that sense, I think we have a more vested interest in what Marvel has to give us than DC. Because DC kind of rushes into it. They rush into it. It's like there was really no character development of Suicide Squad. They're just basically going on the fact like these characters have existed for such a long time. People know about their origin story already, so we're just going to get right into it. That's kind of what I feel that was a big letdown about Justice League.
there was a bunch of characters on that movie that I didn't know about and I wanted to know about, and that's exactly what I thought. I said, man, I would like to know a little bit more about him, and it's the
Right.
art of story. It's the art of storytelling. If there's one thing, if you actually pay attention to a lot of these movies, they are really telling the story, and you just have to catch it. You just have to pay attention. They're saying, from all the research that I've done today and yesterday, Jesus, man, the amount of Easter eggs that they are planting just in the little things that they're saying and how it connects to a movie that was 5 years ago and so on. Man, it's fucking well thought out. I give them credit for that, man. They're staying true. People are going crazy for that show on Netflix, the Karate Kid. What is it called?
Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai. I enjoy that show. But one thing that I'm loving about it is that it's very nostalgic and very true to its roots. So same thing with this. You're watching this and you're like, wow, they're true to its roots to a fault. You have to pay attention. It can go right over your head. There's a lot going on,
Right.
man. I mean, obviously, I'm looking forward to where they go. Ultimately, where episode 5 and 6 left off, I mentioned before, Vision was dying. He was outside the hex. Instead of trying to crawl back in, Wanda heard from the sun that he's dying, and with her powers, she extended the hex, the orb, and basically started pulling in a bunch of agents from SWORD and so on. And you could see when they crossed over into their world, they changed in form. Now they were a clown. Now they were at a circus. Now that truck that was a surveillance truck
or something turned into like an ice cream truck or something.
Yeah, it's crazy. So like, and very, very, very interesting. Darcy Lewis, Kat Dennings, that's the girl who plays like the really smart
hacker girl
that was in what's that show back in not too long ago where it was like
Two Broke Girls. Two Broke Girls.
Yeah, and Julia saw that. She was like, she's in this. So like,
yeah. Well, she's been around. She was in the she's part of the Thor verse. So
that's why.
Yeah, she worked under Jane Foster, played by Natalie Portman, who is Thor's love interest and eventually should become Lady Thor.
Okay, so I'm very curious where they go, but she was basically sucked into the hex. So I'm curious what she changes to. What is going to be her role? One thing that we have completely not mentioned is, let me pull up a picture. Monica Rambeau, right here. She mentioned, I know an aerospace engineer who will be up for the challenge. That's basically connecting, in my opinion, connecting you to the Fantastic Four, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah, it might be Reed Richards.
Exactly, right? So
I think that could be Reed Richards.
She went into the hex,
Mr.
twice.
Fantastic.
She went into the hex twice. When she tried to go back, they said, listen, we looked at your blood levels and something's off. Don't go back in there. And basically, it's leading to her being turned into something, some type of mutant, some type of powers. I thought it was a very interesting point you brought up to me yesterday, Smitty, where you said, being that there were two separate entities and one was in Sony and the other one was in what was the other one? What's the other?
The 20th Century Fox.
20th Century
Fox. 20th Century Fox was we're talking about with Quicksilver.
Yeah, they basically were not allowed to use the term mutants, so they had to call them something else. Right?
Right. They called them Inhumans in the MCU. Inhumans.
Because they didn't want to get sued because that's a separate entity. Mutants were known for X-Men, right? So I think it's amazing, man, going all the way back to Stan Lee, man, of thinking of all these universes, finding a way to connect them, mutants with these superheroes, and then all these different connections. It's amazing, man. You know what it reminds me of? Believe it or not, it reminds me of not Lord of the Rings. It just ended the show with the dragons, Game of Thrones, where you have all these different layers and somehow they connect.
Game of Thrones.
This is that. This is exactly that, just in a comic universe.
Right.
You have all these different layers of all
Right.
these different people and all these different entities
Right.
and all these different people run their own different areas. This is exactly that. You know, unfortunately,
Right.
it's
I think you bring up a good point. I think you bring up a good point with that, because going back to what you said before, why are Marvel characters more liked over DC? That exact reason that you just mentioned, that I think plays a big part in it.
Maybe we were brainwashed because we saw so much more of Marvel that we became more likable to them. And then now when DC is coming in, if they're not telling a good story and you don't know much about them, you're not as entertained. You're not as curious. I don't know. Who knows? But my point is that, man, I think it's pretty brilliant how they're connecting these worlds, and you just gotta be patient to see which direction they go. Also, connecting to talk about there was a trailer for the Super Bowl, right? The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Are you looking forward to that?
Hell, y'all.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm a huge fan of Anthony Mackie,
Yeah.
and he's come a long way
Right.
since that movie with Eminem. Okay, 8 Mile. He's come a long
8 Mile.
way.
Papa Doc.
Yeah.
He
Papa
was,
Doc.
He was Papa Doc.
He's come a
Clarence.
long way.
His real name is Clarence.
Clarence. So like he's come a long way. You know what's funny is that there's certain characters, actors from that movie that I see him in other things. Like for example, one of the Eminem's friends, the big heavyset guy, he was in Ballers with The Rock.
The Rock, yeah.
Every time you see him, somebody go into something else, you're like, oh, interesting. The guy who played the idiot who shot himself in the foot in 8 Mile, he was in this movie. I don't know if it was I don't remember the name of it. The one with 50 Cent. I don't know, but he played like this like guy who was robbing banks or something like that, and he had like a SWAT type of thing. He was horrible. He was horrible.
Cheddar Bob.
But like Cheddar Bob. I don't know what but it's curious to see these guys do other things with their career after you saw them a long time ago.
Right.
But Anthony Mackie has definitely created so much value. He has this movie on Netflix called, I think, Outside the Wire or Outside the Lines. I really enjoyed that movie. Have you seen it?
I have not.
Oh man, watch it. It's cool. It's a good movie. It actually took the main actor from the show called Snowfall. He's a big actor right now, so they put those two together. I really enjoyed the creativity. I really enjoyed the storyline. Good movie, but
I watched some of it. I caught some of this. I didn't see all of it.
I'll tell you right now, Anthony Mackie is a very valuable entity, and he's definitely holding his own weight in the game. So I'm gonna share that trailer real quick, if you guys don't mind.
Not at all.
There was another Netflix show, I think, that he took over the character on the second season. It was a show where
Altered Carbon.
You think? Oh, Altered Carbon. Yeah.
Yeah. And that one wasn't as good. It wasn't as good. So
I didn't see the second season of Altered Carbon. I really liked the first season.
Yeah.
That's actually on my list of things to watch. But yeah, definitely, man. I give him a lot of credit, man, for him to basically think about it. Think about all the actors that all of a sudden are popping up in MCU. That you're like, man, like I didn't think you were interested in this type of stuff. But a lot of actors are seeing the value of where TV is going and where these movies are going. Listen, I feel like we are in a point of our lives where we are seeing a shift. There was a point where actors didn't want to fucking do TV. That was beneath them. Unless the movies didn't want them anymore, that's the only time they did the TV. Okay? But now TV is becoming just as valuable. I'm not a big fan of regular TV. I think if you're a part of a network, whether it be FX, whether it be any of these other networks, obviously HBO, one of the stars, or one of the main ones, or even Netflix or Prime or Disney's just brand new to the game. But the whole point is that they are putting out stuff and they're creating value, which gives opportunities to these writers to write the craziest things and get all these stars to play in it. But we are in a shift of where everything was just movie. Now all of a sudden it's shifting to TV. If you notice, we got with WandaVision right now, and then coming up is going to be the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So I'm going to show you that trailer real quick. Hold on. Enjoy.
So, who would like to start? Mr. Barnes, why does Sam aggravate you?
15 seconds to drop. So what's our plan?
Great. Superheroes cannot be allowed to exist. I have no intention to leave my work unfinished. The wall's upside down right now. Where do we start?
Look, I have a plan. Oh yeah? What is it?
Is you ready?
Here we go again, huh?
We've been running hard on the job. Can't take that from home. Are you ready? Is you ready?
That little girl kick your ass. Gotta get that person up before that police.
See? That wasn't so hard.
Are you ready? Is you ready?
Okay.
You say you ready.
What are you doing?
Whole squad ready.
Are you having a staring contest?
Are you ready? Is you ready?
Just blink. Sweet Jesus. I mean, how old are you?
Yes, sir.
Looks like
That looks
Thomas is
good.
gonna watch now.
Yeah,
Ah.
yeah, that looks good.
Ah. Listen, I tell you, if Anthony Mackie wasn't in that, it's doing it again. I hear sounds from. Shut the hell up! Sorry, it was in my ear. It driving me crazy. So I thought it was Mephisto again. Fucking guy. Leave me alone, Mephisto. He's very powerful. Now, is it me or does Quicksilver look like a big dweeb, bro?
I think they did that.
That was an
Like, bro.
homage to the comics. Yeah,
Yes. This is the before of the him looking a certain way, and then now this is what he looks like now. I don't know, but you can look at the comics right here. Hear the comics right here. You can see the comic images right there. But it's interesting.
Yeah.
To look at these guys, whatever. But all right.
You know what else was interesting that I found out about this? So those two, Aaron Johnson and who was the original Quicksilver, and then the Quicksilver from 20th Century Fox, even Evan Peters, excuse me, they were both in the movie Kick-Ass, which I had no idea was actually produced by Marvel. It's not part of the MCU, but it was produced by Marvel. And at one point, I don't know if you recall, Wanda shouted out, she just said like, "Oh, Kick-Ass," with Evan Peters like being in so just the Easter eggs are impeccable, and that's what people have grown to expect with it.
Am I the only one? Everyone, for the two people watching right now, am I the only one who watched WandaVision and watched all the credits and waited just in case they had something for me at the end?
No, we got trained that way.
I didn't watch it. I forwarded. I kept forwarding. Then I see they just acknowledging all the other countries. I said, Because I'm like, yo, how does the credits come on? It's still like 6 minutes left. What is it? 6 minutes of credits? Yes, it is.
Yeah.
6 minutes of credits.
Well, they can speed that up, but
Yeah.
But it's interesting, man. But is there anything else you guys want to add? I see Xavier was talking. He said there's a lot of money in the Marvel universe. That's why they want a piece of the bag, and that's very true, man. It's very true, man. And again, you can make that money. Just do it well. Just do
Right.
it well. Like I'm not super strict on certain things. I'll make reference to something. My buddy Kyle from back in the day is a huge comic book fan. Back in the day, when they came out with Transformers with all that CGI, he refused to watch it because Optimus Prime had lips. Instead of the thing that goes the shield
Yeah.
that went like that, he was like, "Nah, bro, I can't look at Optimus Prime mouthing words to me. Like, nah, that's not the same." Like,
Yeah.
he just said, "Bro, just ignore that." He said, "Absolutely not. I refuse to watch it." And I was like, "All right, bro, fine." So there's a lot of people out there.
That's kind of shocking to me that Kyle would take that route, because I feel like him being an artist, he would be more open to that sort of thing, just like different perspectives. But I guess not.
He felt disrespected, just like the people felt disrespected when they saw Batman's nipples with George Clooney.
Oh man!
But all right,
That's
man.
too good.
I think we touched on a lot of things, man. I hope I did justice in trying to giving you guys the visuals and stuff like that out there.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of cool things, man, on the show, and hopefully you guys will get into it, and we really look forward to hearing your opinions. And I think it was great that G, you brought all these very, very important questions that everybody's thinking. So stuff like that we need. Like that we appreciate. I appreciate you guys. Smitty, I appreciate your wealth of knowledge in this universe.
Yes, sir.
I am a fan. And I am a
absolutely, yo. Thank you for including us.
Absolutely, man. I enjoy having you guys on. I am a fan, and I am a casual fan that I want to learn more about it. But again, this is something that's very deep. I mean, even Julia was like, as I was like helping her through the episode and telling her certain things, she was like, "This is a good show. I would watch it." So I actually got the opportunity to watch from episode 2 all the way to 6 yesterday because she needed to catch up. So I was like, fuck it. I'll watch those episodes. They're not super long, and I'll catch up. And I know it's each time you watch it, you notice something different. So I appreciate all those people recording videos, dropping those Easter eggs, because you're teaching me. I am a student and I am learning, and they're very valuable things. So I guess we'll continue on. 2 more episodes left of the season, people. Let's make this happen. There's other shows that we could talk about. I think Gillette, you mentioned the show American Gods.
Yeah,
I haven't watched that. I want to jump.
Thomas, you watch American Gods, man? That's my shit, bro. Love that.
I'm catching up. I'm on season 2, man. It's a good watch.
So
watch. I was livid that they didn't come out with the episode last Sunday.
He's not current, so it's not hurting him. So I mean, I want to get into it. So possibly that's another side show that we can talk about. American Gods. I gotta do a lot of catching up, so give me some time. Another good show that I constantly recommend, and I want you guys, I want you people out there to watch if you can. It's only 1 season. It's called The Outsider. It's actually a script that was written by Stephen King, and it did so well that all the fans really pushed it, and now they're gonna come out with a 2nd season. It's got delayed by COVID, of course, but nonetheless, I am looking forward to it.
That's the one with the Cuco?
Yeah, El Cuco. Yeah,
the Cuco.
So, that was an excellent series, bro.
Yeah. I remember telling you
about it
and watching it, and like you just like it's disturbing and it's confusing, and you're like, what the fuck? And you realize what you're looking at. It kind of reminds me a little bit of what we're watching right now, if you think about it.
Yeah, I like it though. The one thing I want to give them credit for WandaVision is the first 2 episodes are a hard watch. You don't know what to expect, and it's moving a little too slow.
But it's juicy.
Right, but what happens is, because I don't have a lot of the knowledge, I don't catch a lot of the Easter eggs. Like, I have to hear you guys talk about it, then I go back and catch it.
Yeah.
So for the casual watcher or the casual comic book fan, you don't usually recover from 2 bad episodes, because to a casual watcher, the first 2 episodes will kind of suck until you get to the good parts and go back. Now they don't suck. because me and my lady, we tried to watch it a few times, and it just was a hard watch. You know, it was a hard watch. It was slow, but that's because neither one of us had any, backstory information.
Mhm.
So now, just hearing what you guys shared in this show here, it makes those episodes much better. So
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I'll do is when I research certain things, I'll share them with you. Again, I don't like to base my opinions on one person, whatever. I try to I'll watch a bunch of different things, and I try to just really, talk about stuff that's a little bit more concrete. But nonetheless, man, I think that's the beauty of it. A good show will have you talking about it afterwards. I think it's called the talking by the water machine. I forgot what it's called. Whatever, doesn't matter. So after every episode, Sopranos used to do it. People used to collect by the water machine and just talk about the show. Did you see that episode? Did you catch this? And so on and so on.
The water cooler. Yeah,
the water cooler. Yes, exactly. Yeah, I can't afford one, so I don't remember the name of it. So, Xavier was asking about The Outsider. The Outsider is actually Jason Bateman is in it, and it's on HBO. And I think HBO usually doesn't miss. They put out hits. They put out really good shows.
Yeah,
that's an excellent show.
I'm looking forward to the version of the PS4 game, The Last of Us. They're doing that. I think I mentioned it in the room. The characters they're going to be playing that. I put a lot of cool stuff in the room. I try to keep you guys busy. If you guys want in, if you have Facebook, I can definitely send you an invite. I'm constantly sending you cool movie infos. Did you knows? It stimulates the mind. It's pretty cool. Somebody sent me. My brother-in-law sent me something about the movie The Last Dragon, stuff that I didn't know, which I thought was very interesting. So it's a cool world to be a part of if you want it. It's called Media Chop Up. It's our own room, and we share all types of stuff there. If not, it's fine. You can catch the live show. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook. We'll continue doing that, man. We thank you guys. Thank you guys for being a part of this. Is there anything you want to say before we sign off?
Yeah, I just want to say happy birthday, Serge.
Oh, thank you, guys.
Hey, old man.
Yes, the big 41. Tomorrow's my birthday.
Papa San.
Yes. It's a blessing, man. Someone wrote. Hold on, sorry. Still waiting for the second season of The Witcher. I haven't watched.
The Witcher's a good one too.
I started watching it, and I fell off it. So I definitely plan on finishing that. I talked about that in the room as well, about the second season. I forgot when it's coming out, nonetheless. But thank you guys. We appreciate you guys. Until the next episode, remember, love what you do and do what you love. All right, y'all. Peace. Until the next episode.
Hey.
Later.
Later.